What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. We are going to take a look at a few clips from Emily Thornberry's interview with Andrew Marr earlier today. You know, the Labour leadership candidate who is at present struggling to get enough support from MPs within her own party to even progress to the next stage of the leadership contest, which Andrew Marr is quick to point out during the show. In true Labour fashion though, rather than taking responsibility for the loss at the last election, she claims Labour should have blocked the general election in order to prevent Boris Johnson delivering Brexit, which of course would have continued the treachery in Parliament that we witnessed reaching its peak over the last 6 months or so, and to a lesser extent for the last 3 years. She is clearly still not happy that the electorate had their say and went against what she wanted. As you all know, this snarling, spitting shit weasel despises Brexiteers or anyone who disagrees with her. We also get what I consider to be an utterly piss-poor explanation for her white van man and St George's Cross tweet. That to me looks like it might have been a signal to her North London base that anywhere outside of London is racist because they might fly the St George's Cross, which is pretty much the same as what everyone else thinks. Because it has to be said, these days the Labour Party is not well known for being patriotic, is it? So let's take a look at some highlights from the interview itself.
Of Unite, no less. He reportedly described her as a tough cookie who's not afraid of taking big decisions. But right now, she's towards the back of the race, with fewer than 10 of the 22 nominations required. Time is running out. The deadline tomorrow is at 2:30, and she joins me now. Can you do it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's happened has been that we've only had a week to get the nominations in. There's a large number of MPs who haven't nominated yet, and many of them have wanted to speak to their party members. They wanted to go to the hustings and think about this, because obviously it's a really important decision. But from the conversations that I've had this weekend, I'm fairly confident that so long as I don't get any slippage, I'll be fine. I'm going to get across the line, and then we'll move on to the next stage. It's a long contest, and it'll have its ups and downs. And I've been a slow starter, but I did start from a standing start after the general election.
Right, well I have to call bullshit on the fact that she is sure she has enough votes to get into the contest proper. If memory serves, Labour's total pool for nominations is 213. That is 10 MEPs and the piss poor 203 MPs that they got at the last election. 154 have already declared, with 68 going to Sir Keir Starmer, 26 to Rebecca Wrong-Daly, 24 to Lisa Nandy, 22 to Jess Phillips, 10 to Emily Thornberry, and 4 to Clive Lewis respectively. Each candidate needs 22 MPs or MEPs to support them in order to go through to the membership vote. With only 59 possible votes left to go out of 213, the odds are stacked against her and Clive Lewis, given many have backed Keir Starmer and other candidates already over these two, and I feel are likely to follow the bandwagon of Starmer, Bailey, Nandy or Phillips rather than join someone who is clearly not well liked within the Labour Party, which doesn't bode well for her as a backbencher over the next 5 years if, as I suspect, she doesn't win the leadership election. It's a good thing she claims she's a tough old bird, hey. She might need to be. To be honest though, she could still make it. But I would not bet your house on it, guys, that is for sure. I must also call bullshit on her claim that she had a slow start because of their disastrous election campaign. Pretty sure every Labour leadership candidate suffered the same election defeat as you did, you complete moron. So therefore, everybody started from the same position. I mean, what an idiot to even say that and not see the stupidity of it. I find it incredible a former lawyer can be that dense. But let's move on to some talk about Brexit, which is always going to be gold with this absolute plank.
Let me put to you a theory about why you might have been in some trouble, which is that you were, above everybody else, probably most associated with the Remain case around Brexit. You were the person who said, this is a Remain party and we're going to prove that Britain is a Remain country. And, of course, exactly the reverse happened. Perhaps on this issue, you're just out of touch.
I I think that it was disastrous for us to go into a general election in those circumstances. I accept that. But I really did try to stop us going for a general election. What my view was that you couldn't have a general election over one issue. That was basically a referendum. That what Boris Johnson should have done, we should have held him to account, and we should have said, yes, all right, let's get Brexit done. Let's have a referendum. Let's find out if people like your deal. And then, once we had done that and people had decided one way or the other, it's a really, really big decision, then you have a general election. But by doing what we did, we let him wrap himself up in the lie that he could get Brexit done without a referendum, and he got 5 years in power as a result of it, and that's been a disaster for our country.
So Andrew Marr points out that some MPs within the Labour Party might be wary of supporting such an ardent Remoaner, who of course fronted Labour's campaign to ignore the 2016 referendum result and change the terms for a second referendum to be a Labour Brexit deal that was essentially Remain 2.0 versus Remain, which, given Brexit is part of the reason why Labour got rejected by the electorate, I would think her leading the charge for a second referendum has made her unelectable even within her own party. Such a shame, I think. She would make a great opposition leader, since it's all she could ever be, like most, if not all, of the Labour leadership candidates, to be honest. But of course, Emily had to go one step further than most, and bemoan about Labour agreeing to the election because she did not mind embarrassing the Labour Party and British politics when, as you will all remember, the Labour Party rejected an election 3 times, meaning they provided confidence and supply to a minority Tory government in their desperate attempts to stop Brexit. Just let that sink in for a moment. Rather than admitting your mistakes and supporting what the electorate voted for, she comes on national TV exactly a month after the election, bemoaning like a worthless fuckpig that Labour agreed to an election last month rather than continue blocking the electorate's right to decide its future. And of course, she did all this regardless of the damage it does to the Labour Party's reputation or that of the country's democracy. She did admit in that clip that the Remoaners got their second referendum at the last election, and lost that yet again. It seems to be a theme for all Remoaners, but she is still saying Labour should have forced a second referendum on their terms rather than the election that put the ball back in the hands of the electorate, who rejected her Remain bullshit and said, let's deliver on the 2016 referendum result. I guess we will have at least 5 more years of Emily Thornberry bemoaning about losing. I will be waiting to salt mine when she does. You can be sure about that, guys. But let's move on to our final clip about the infamous white van tweet and her piss-poor explanation of it.
Now, there's one thing that's hung around your neck now, as you know, for several years, which is a single tweet you put out, I think in 2015. You can see it here. It's famously, it's the St George's Cross flying, and you appeared to be sneering at the people who put that flag out, and it's never been quite forgotten.
Well, the mistake I made, and I made a mistake, was I took a photograph of a house that was covered in flags many months after the World Cup. I was taking a series of photographs during a by-election in order to explain to people what a by-election is like. And I was asked to resign. I did. I was asked not to make any comment. I did. That was my mistake, because there isn't.
You should have explained yourself.
Well, yeah,
at the time.
because there isn't any commentary on that. And so what happened was that people put their own prejudices into that and said, I was doing this and I was doing that. And the truth of the matter, the truth of the matter is that I was brought up on a council estate, a house that looks very similar to this. My brother was a builder until he had an accident. You know, I've got a sister who's a bus driver. You know, I don't sneer at people. I mean, it's not fair to say it. I am a successful woman, but I have had a struggle getting here. But I have been successful, and I'm proud of that. And actually, if the Labour Party is not proud of people who are successful, what are we about?
No, Andrew, she wasn't appearing to sneer. I would bet she was sneering at them because to the London Labourites like Emily here, the Union Jack and St George's Cross are both racist flags, and therefore anyone who flies it is considered a racist. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. If she took the photo because she was a patriot, then she would have said that straight away. I took the photo because I'm proud of my country, and its flag would have been her instantaneous answer. Not now, but at the time. Even if we all know that would be utter bullshit. But she could have at least said it to save some face. Except, of course, if she did, a portion of her Islington base would be up in arms. and the hard-left Twitter lunatics that follow her would be all over her like a fly around shit. You know, momentum's kinda gentler politics we have seen and heard so much about over the years. Instead, we get an explanation that, like I said earlier, can only be described as piss poor at best. I mean, her claim she took the photo to show people what a by-election was like, to me, is completely unbelievable. How does a picture of a working man's house with flags flying outside teach anyone about a by-election? Unless, of course, you was trying to say this white van man votes for the other guy and flies the racist St George's Cross. So vote for us, otherwise you're also a racist. I don't know about you guys, but I am struggling to see how this picture is relevant to showing someone what a by-election is, unless of course, like I just explained. Because I can fucking guarantee right now, he is not flying them flags for a by-election, Emily. No matter how far you have reached to think this verbal diarrhea up you have decided to provide us with today. It's about as believable as the claim that Jeremy Corbyn won the argument. Or of course, that Jo Swinson would be our next Prime Minister, and her claim that people put their prejudices into their interpretation of the tweet is yet more bollocks. It's common knowledge that the Labour Party despises the Union Jack and especially the St George's Cross. It seems they would rather fly the EU flag than our own, which is rather ironic considering the EU represents a majority white, Western European protectionist enterprise that's policies are extremely discriminatory against non-Europeans. I wonder if she actually thought people would believe her fictional story there, because I am really struggling to believe it, and in my opinion has about a 1% chance of being true. But naturally, she finishes up that clip giving us a list of reasons why this Guildford-born North London shitweasel MP, who used to be a successful lawyer, is part of the working class. Talk about desperate to appeal to people you have no chance of appealing to. Which, I'm sorry to say, is something we have seen from all the candidates so far. But coming from Emily here, I do find particularly funny. Well guys, what a shit show that was. She is still salty Labour agreed to an election because she no longer has power over Brexit, regardless of the fact it was an utter embarrassment for Labour to reject the election 3 times before they eventually agreed to it. Talk about out of touch with reality. And let's not forget her white van man bullshit that was telling Jo Swinson's levels of delusion to hold her beer. Taking photos for educating people on by-elections is an incredible amount of bullshit Jo Swinson would be proud of. Why, of course, she awaits for her P45. Personally, I will be shocked if Emily gets through to the member stage of the election process, and would be funny if even Clive Lewis come out of nowhere to overtake her and get in, leaving her the only one not to make it, simply because she has been so vehemently against Brexiteers for the last 3 years, it will be her just desserts. But on that note guys, I am going to end the video there. As some of you already know, I have started doing live streams on my second channel, along with uploading gaming content there in my free time. So if you want to join me for a chat in real time when I go live, have an interest in gaming content on YouTube, or just want to support me over there because you are a legend, then the links are in the video description and as a pinned comment below. I appreciate all you guys who have joined me over there in recent days. As always, I want to thank our YouTube, PayPal, Patreon and Subscribestar members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe with a notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.
Remoaner! Remoaner!